I'm here with Jason, and we are about to have big fun this month, the month of August, because we are going to be collaborating at the Worship Design Studio Planning Retreat. I'm so excited. We have over 150 churches registered thus far. You still can register, especially because we're live streaming this, because Jason is the both and guy. Jason is the guy who wrote the book on hybrid worship, literally. There it is. And so Jason is going to be with us this year. This is, I've been doing these planning retreats since 2008. Oh my gosh, long time. But this year, I really wanted my friend Jason, who I've known for a very long time, but we have not gotten to teach together ever. I wanted him to come and be with me at the planning retreat because we're going to, as usual, get to the content of the 2022-2023 liturgical year, but also all along the way, talk about our both and strategies. So Jason, we're going to be together soon. We've been talking about this for a long time. It's almost here. You got
It's
your plane ticket?
incredible. I have my plane ticket. It is
Awesome.
incredible. For years and years, I've been hearing everywhere I go, we just had Marcia, and you remind me of Marcia. And, I've been a fan
Oh,
for a
because we
long
look so
time.
much alike,
I know. It's mostly the hairstyle, I think.
I think.
But yeah, incredible that we're going to have the opportunity to collaborate and come together. And I know a lot of folks that are have followed and are fans of your work, and the same for me, have been super excited that it's like the Avengers coming together or something. I don't know. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, really big Avengers theme. I don't even know what the Avengers is because it's not my thing, but yeah, we're going to play with Play-Doh because we are being reshaped again and again and again. We're made for this, and one of the big reasons why we're going to talk so much about hybrid worship is because it's here to stay. And we're not just talking about those of you who have all the bells and whistles to live stream and to do all those fancy things. We can be hybrid in many different ways. So Jason's going to be talking about both and. I'm going to be talking about yes and, which is a fun improvisational game that helps you think even further about what the possibilities are. And I know that participants in this retreat are going to really be able to sort of think with a fresh perspective about both and yes and how to bring what the world needs, what so many people need in this time, and that is connection, but connection in many, many, many different variations. So yeah, we're going to play with Play-Doh. Do you have some there, Jason? Because
I
I know you're.
do. In fact, if you're not going to be in person with us, we want to encourage you to get some Play Doh. So there are lots of different um, varieties of Play Doh. Like you can get the little tiny 1 ounce Play Doh, or you can get kind of the medium sized Play Doh, or you can get like the full jar Play Doh, or you can have a whole bucket of Play Doh if you want. And then if you don't have the budget to make Play-Doh, then you can make your own Play-Doh at tinkerlab.com/rainbow play dough. There's a great recipe there that's supposed to be a lot like the real stuff. So,
Oh, that's
um,
cool. And it's no
yeah,
cook.
yeah. So if you are going to be with us online, if you're coming to meet us at Church of the Resurrection, we're going to have Play-Doh for you, but we're going to use that in some creative and fun ways
Yeah.
through worship. But one of the reasons we want those online to participate in that way is that we want to show you how both and can be very participatory in the room and at home. And we want to create a scenario where no one feels like an afterthought, not the people that are at home and not the people in the room. So we're going to model that all throughout our time together.
We sure are. And we're going to be live streaming. We're also going to be recording it. A lot of people can't come to all of the sessions. So you will have recordings that you can watch later, much like a both and hybrid kind of option. But also St. Paul School of Theology is one of our co-sponsors. So we've got Worship Design Studio, we have Midnight Oil Productions with Jason, and we have St. Paul School of Theology, which is housed right there where we're going to be meeting. And they have these really cool things called a neat board. And we're going to be using that as well. So during our working sessions, so we will be presenting, but then people are going to, in this retreat, have actual sessions where you're just figuring out what are we doing for Advent, and you're making plans, and so that you can feel like you've got a long range plan. And so there's significant time for you to work on your own, but we'll have the neat board there. And Jason and I can actually, you're going to feel like you're in the room, which is pretty cool. This technology is kind of fun to play with, and it's pretty new. So we're going to be right there, and we can talk to you just like we came and stood at your table. So that is, for those of you going to be online and can come live to those sessions, that's going to be a fun thing to do as well.
We've even taken advantage of the new Zoom feature that can pump out the smell of the deodorant we're wearing. So it is going to be like we're right there next to you. So it's going to be kind of fun and
Okay,
exciting.
Jason. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway,
Sorry.
we want to pump out the smell of the Play-Doh is what we
There
want
you
to do.
go. Now that's worth pumping out right there.
It
Yeah.
is, because, we want to get back to that. The whole idea of this theme, reshaped, and the Play-Doh, is we want to get back to that moment when we were kids and we pop the top on that Play-Doh and that smell, and it just smells like possibility.
Yeah.
There's a lot of heavy stuff going on in the world. We've been through a lot. A lot of us are exhausted, but we want to sort of take a moment with the spiritual practice of Play-Doh, and remember that within us is still that capacity to imagine,
Yeah.
right? And to be creative together. And we want to support that. We don't want you to
Part of
feel like you're alone.
Absolutely. Part of it is the idea that we would dream for the next shape that things might take. And, what I've been seeing a lot over the last couple of years is that as we've made our way through this pandemic, some of us want to kind of go back to the previous shape that existed pre-pandemic. And, the downside of Play-Doh is that if you sculpt something and you leave it out for too long, it loses its malleability. And we don't want to revert backwards, but instead think about how do we move forward in a way that allows us to take on a whole new shape of ministry, and through creativity, and really in multiple different formats, both in the room and online. And then also to think about how do people, like many who will participate in this retreat, how do those who participate asynchronously at a later time really get something out of
Yeah.
what we're doing. And so we hope to model all that as well.
Yeah, and I'm really, those of you who were at my planning retreat last year or on my Metamorphosis Moment webinar last year, I started then really thinking about this yes and that is to take what we plan for a Sunday morning and say, how do we repackage this in ways that's rhythm flexible, but that's also community facing? How can the community encounter it maybe in a little different form? Or, how can we create a rhythm flexible way of offering it to people who are just not ever going to be able to do Sunday morning, or they're not enough in the church habit to actually just watch a church service later or even live, right? So it is, the possibilities, I think, are endless. And I think we're going to end up with more ideas, Jason, than you and I have right now, because we come together
Absolutely.
with the community.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think you used a really key word there, flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think what I hope folks who have registered for the event will really lean into and be excited about is that this is really designed in a way it's achievable for churches of any size.
Right.
So I work with churches that don't have internet, that are doing hybrid. They don't have internet in the building.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how do you do it on a small budget. How are you going to do interactivity if you don't live stream?
Right.
We'll talk a little bit about that. So you don't have to be like super tech savvy. You don't have to have an enormous budget. You don't have to be a mega church. You don't have to do contemporary, quote, contemporary worship.
Yeah.
Any style, any size, whether you're in the city or in a rural area, we're
Yeah.
going to really talk about how do you engage people in a way that could reshape everything moving forward. We really see this time we're in as an opportunity to live the Great Commission to take the gospel everywhere, both physical and in digital form. And so
Yeah.
I'm excited about those possibilities as well, to see the just the diversity of churches that will be with us in person and online.
Yeah, that's right. And what I love about what we've come up with, what we're planning, is that it's going to be about content and the technique of how it the technology of how it gets out. And I don't mean technology just in digital, but I mean the ways that we offer it. So it's kind of a two-in-one kind of thing. It's kind of double your pleasure, double mint gum kind of thing. We should have gone with gum instead of Play-Doh. I guess
There,
it's similar.
I am certain that some of the people that are there are going to chew on the Play-Doh. I mean, we all remember that taste too, not just the smell. So,
Oh no, no,
no,
don't go
nobody's
there,
going to do
Jason.
that. It is non-toxic though. So, if you
That's
choose
right.
to, you choose
That
to.
is right. Absolutely. So we'll cut to the chase here. We're not going to be on too long, but we wanted to talk to two folks. One is the folks who've already registered. And I'm going to have Jason in just a moment give you a couple of clues, because what we want you to do is, if you do have a recorded version or live stream version, whatever version of hybrid you're doing, we want you to take a look at that. I know we've gotten like in this rhythm of doing it, but we don't always watch it afterwards, right? Because, we're on to the next thing. But we want you to watch one of them so that it's fresh in your mind from a participant's point of view, not from what you remember having done it, been on the other side of the camera. So we want you to watch that so that you come ready to sort of think about what you're doing, and how you might reshape that or just be affirmed for what you're doing. And we also want to talk to the audience of folks who haven't registered yet. It's not too late. And so just so you know, that will be on live, of course, and the recordings afterwards. So it can be a retreat on your own, pastors. You can just join us on your computer. It can be that you give the link to your worship team so that you're all watching from your different computers. It can be that you get together at the church and watch it together and then use it like an actual retreat with your own space right there. And of course, you could create your own retreat that's a better date than August 14th through 17th. If that doesn't work for you, you can actually use it as your own retreat. So lots of different ways, variety to engage with it. But we really want to let you know that you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to do it alone. And there are lots of ideas. No one idea fits all. And Jason and I are both really clear about that. We're not here to teach you that this is what you should do. We're going to lay a feast and then let you have at it. So, Jason, would you tell us just a little bit briefly about what to kind of be looking for as we watch our live stream recording or whatever kind of recording it is, before we get to the retreat?
Absolutely. I think both in worship and in this retreat, we have to keep in mind that there are three ways that people participate now. Right now in the room with us, they're right there in the same space and at the same time as us. Some people for this retreat and for your worship, if you live stream, are number two, at home or worshiping online in real time with you. And the third way that people participate is later online. And so we're going to be intentional in the way that we model this, but also you've got to be intentional in the way you do worship to think about how will someone who encounters the worship that you do this coming Sunday encounter it if they worship with you on Monday during their lunch break because they work on Sunday, or find your sermon a month, a year, several years later. And so we're going to think a lot about that in the way that we're doing it. We're going to model that, but also want you to think about that. Also, as Marcia suggested, we would love for you to take a look at your worship beforehand and maybe make some notes. In my Both And book, I talk about having an online advocate, someone that will worship with you online, and then you empower them to think about and advocate for an online audience. We have lots of advocates in the room. That we've been advocating in the room for a very long time. So just 7 things to think about as you look at your worship. I'm going to go over them really quickly. And we're going to be looking for these as we lead this event as well. So the first thing is, what about this experience is working and not working online? Some of the things that we do in the room don't translate to at home very well if we're not intentional. And I just want to say that I think acknowledgement of the people worshiping not in the room with you is so important in making them feel like they're a part of the experience. So you've got to acknowledge their presence, talk to them, those kind of things. The second thing is, does it feel like they're actually talking to me? And eye contact is a part of that.
Yeah.
And so we're not suggesting that you only look at the camera. You're not filming a television show. But if I had people here today, I'd talk to them in person and I'd also talk to the camera as well. And so we're going to model that, but also want to encourage you to look for in your worship, are you talking to folks other than just at the beginning and the end? Are you including them in the experience? Third thing is, are you using language that includes everyone in the experience? I often hear people say, we're a church for everyone, but I think sometimes we kind of exclude people that aren't in the room with us. So remember that when you give instruction for sacraments, for participation in the room, if you do joys and concerns and things like that, prayer requests, are you including people not in the room? One of my pet peeves right now is I often hear people say, let's stand together for the reading of the word or as we sing. Do you really think people in their living rooms at that moment are standing up? Probably not. So what if we instead said, if you're here in the room with us, stand, or at home, find a posture that will allow you to fully participate in this moment. Or if you're worshiping at a later time, just assume a posture right now that would allow you to fully participate. So we're going to talk about how do you develop that language and even think about it in our worship planning. The fourth thing is, can I hear and see everyone? Sometimes we have people that talk off camera or away from the microphone. When you're at home, that just becomes mumble and you feel disconnected from the experience. And so how do we make sure that everyone that's participating in the room can be heard and seen at home? Fifth thing is, do I feel like a valued member of the congregation when I'm not at home? I wish that every leader could take 1 week to worship at home outside of the building and see what that experience is like. You may find that you don't have a very worshipful experience, but you can if you're intentional and make people feel valued. And so, again, we're going to explore how do you do that. The sixth thing, sorry, is the chat feature being used effectively? I really think that chat is an incredible opportunity now. Some of you might be thinking, but most of my people watch on a smart TV. Well, I want to talk to you when we're together about creating what I call the dual screen
Dual
experience, where you
screen
might have people,
experience.
yeah, watching on a TV, but also with a phone in their hand and participating in your rites and rituals and all the things that you do in worship. And then finally, and I think this one is so key, and it's going to be even more key moving forward in the church, is am I invited to take next steps? We don't want people at home to just be passive watchers of our worship, but active participants, and we want to invite them into relationship, into our faith community. So what are we doing to build relationships and give them next step opportunities, whether that's coming to the building and participating with us or having online Bible study, membership, all those kinds of things. So as you look at your worship, you can rewind this video and look for those 7 things as you prepare, and then look for them when you're participating in a couple weeks with us, because again, we're hoping to model that all throughout the experience.
I know the pressure is on, right?
Yes.
Got to
Yes.
practice what we preach.
Well, you said something a moment ago. I want to reiterate and just highlight, and that is that so many of us are just so wrapped up in the development of and the deployment of our worship that we don't ever actually experience it.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a good practice for your team to once a month or once a quarter sit down as a team, and your team may be you and the church secretary. It doesn't. I'm not suggesting that you maybe have a big staff, but what would it look like for you to sit down periodically and look at your worship and say, does this really feel like worship if I'm not in the room? And I believe every church, I've seen little churches, 25 people in attendance, create incredible online experiences of worship, and they're reaching 2,500 people online, and they only have 25 people in the room, which sounds like an exaggeration, but I actually know of one church those are the numbers, and it's incredible.
Wow. Well, Jason, those are such great pointers, and it'll be such a great jumpstart for folks who are going to engage in the retreat to have done that, so that, you're not just guessing at, what you could improve or what you could do differently, but you have firsthand knowledge. So that's awesome. The last thing I want to say is, as you're preparing for the retreat, in this sort of yes and kind of thing, I would love for you to think about who is not being touched by your spiritual leadership. Friends, we are the spiritual leaders in this time, and that is a great responsibility in a time that is very difficult for many people. There's a lot to be joyous about as well, but the truth is that we have the extremes at the moment. And so I want you to think about who you're not reaching, who might be in need of some spiritual nurture, some love and care. And we're going to dream about how we can do that. Some of the folks that you're going to think about are people who have not come back to worship in the sanctuary for various reasons, for health reasons, for life reasons, for rhythm reasons, whatever. So you're going to know some of those people are going to be people whose names you know. And some of them are going to be people whose names you don't know. And so we're going to brainstorm about various ways that you could not add to the amount of things you're planning, but to take what you're planning and repackage it into different ways that people can experience it. So start that start those creative juices flowing. And by the time we start on August 14th, we start in the evening, Sunday night. And we are just going to hit the ground running and have a great time. And I tell you what, people come away saying that they not only learned a lot, but they also feel re-energized. They feel like their hope quotient went up. And that is the most important thing, because both of us are called to ministry to support you. And so that's really what we want to do in our time together. August 14 through 17, that's Sunday night through Wednesday noon. Again, in many different formats, live, online live, recordings, etc. So please join us. Jason, I can't wait to be in the same room with you. How fun will that be?
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun.
I can't wait as well. It's going to be a good time, and at a really fun place too.
That's right, Kansas City. Here we come.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much. We will see you later, and
Take
contact
care.
us if you have any questions. All right. Thanks so much.
All right.
Bye-bye.